It's a beautiful day to be here, and I feel so great to be able to express myself. And um, I actually feel blessed to be in this new day. I mean, it's a special day to be able to open up my heart and speak from my soul, from the depths of my soul. And I hope you stay tuned and pay attention. Yeah. So today I want to talk about emotions. In emotions, I want to talk about anger. Yeah, the emotion of anger. I really want to open our minds and open our hearts on the topic of anger. You know, a lot of times we let go of our emotions, and it's almost as if our emotions control us. Yeah, and this is so because of the human ability to be caught up with his senses, to be stuck and caught up with his senses, where we lose control to, you know, external pressures and external stimulus, and external agitations. Yeah, so man has this tendency to always lose himself to external pressures and external temptations. Yeah, so I really want to open our minds and open our hearts to anger. Yeah, first of all, I want to let us know how we come about anger, how um, how we can really go within ourselves to curb anger and be in control of ourselves. Because unknown to us, anger really holds us back from a lot of, it holds us back from a lot of goodness, from a lot of fulfillment within ourselves. Because yeah, we might feel that anger is a human emotion and it's common to us, and that we always get to it. But we should also be aware that there's a reason why Christ talked about anger, and he mentioned that we should make sure that our anger doesn't stay longer than supposed. In that we shouldn't carry this resentment or anger within us for longer hours, because the more it stays in us, the more it builds up an identity. Yeah, so I hope you stay tuned while we deal on this. On the topic of anger, uh, anger is a very strong emotion. Yeah, it is so strong that it is so strong and almost self-destructive that it increases the heart rate. Yeah, and it raises the blood pressure, and then it puts you in fight or flight mode. Like anger is a very strong emotion, and in as much as we try to see it as a normal emotion, it is really destructive. Yeah, it is really self-destructive, because anger or resentment is it can be likened to someone leaving a residue of their hell or of the ongoing resentment in them into you, because um, anger comes through external stimulus, where you are stimulated from the outside, yeah, and you respond to it. So it weighs really strongly on us, and we really have to pay attention to how we respond to anger, because anger doesn't just, in as much as yes, we feel this anger and we feel this emotion, and then over time it dies down. It doesn't just stop at that, because this emotion once we have that resentment, once this anger builds up in us, it leaves a residue, and it's often from whoever caused that emotion or whoever inspired that emotion in us. So, the human senses and the human ego are triggered by a lot of things. It's often from maybe a perceived threat or a personal insult or a personal degradation, like when we are looked down upon by people, or when people try to incite us with their words or with their actions. There are a lot of ways you can incur this anger, but you have to really pay attention, because the human ego and the human senses love this emotion of anger a lot. Like, the human senses is prone to get angry, is prone to be pulled towards that emotion, because it is something that feels like an escape. It is more like an escape from your consciousness. So it is seen as a normal emotion because it is common with humanity. Yeah, a lot of people get angry. Parents get angry, children get angry. Like, it is a normal emotion, but at the same time, it is normal because yes, we are human and we have these senses and we have this ego in us, but you have to really understand that this emotion of anger, it takes us away from the consciousness in us. It takes us away from the God in us. Yeah, because when we lose ourselves to this emotion of anger, it is almost like an exchange with whoever caused that anger or whoever inspired that anger in us. It is almost as if we give ourselves to this person and then take on the residues, or take on the persona of whoever gave us this emotion. So that is why we should really be careful to how we respond to these inclinations when we are stimulated by the people around us. A lot of times we are so prone to react to this anger, and this reaction comes on autopilot. Someone spites us, or someone insults us, or someone throws tantrums at us, or someone maybe steps on us, or just whatever. Even if this is done on purpose or not, a lot of us are prone to react to this. And when we react to this leaves us raging, and this rage brings up hate, you see. And when we hate, it is likened to resentment, because when you resent someone, it is you that is you hating this person. That is you hating this person because of whatever he did to you. And now you find out that when you hate this person, you have gone out of your way to be evil. You have gone out of your goodness to become evil. So okay, let's say this person did this on purpose. Let's say this person did this exactly to feed off your emotion, to take a part of you to himself. When you respond, then you see that when you respond negatively, or like when you respond with anger, or when you respond with this resentment, you see that you have given this person part of yourself, and you have taken on this person's persona also. Yeah, because what anger does to you is that it takes you out of your goodness, it takes you out of your consciousness, and then it brings out the evil in you. Yeah, it makes you debase yourself and go down to your lower self, you see, because the emotion of anger, it goes deep down, not just to our body, but deep down to our soul. It really breaks our soul. Imagine what anger does to you, in that it raises your heart rate and raises your blood pressure. It makes you clench your fists and your teeth. You see, it makes your body tense. It makes the nervous system clench almost immediately. This happens on autopilot. Yeah, because the feeling of anger is so strong that it takes us out of our glory, it takes us out of our goodness, it takes us out of the God consciousness in us. And this is what happens almost every time we get angry. And over time, we have succeeded in taking on a lot of baggages from people, because when someone upsets you, you react, you take on their baggage, and they take a part of you also. So it is almost like an exchange that happens unbeknownst to us, because anger makes you hate whoever incited it. Anger makes you hate your fellow human. It makes you hate your fellow being. And hating your fellow being is likened to you being evil. It's likened to you coming out of your goodness to be evil. I mean, this is why Christ said that we should not stay longer with our anger. It is something that you cannot escape, in that someone can easily incite that emotion in you. But now, how you respond to it shows your level of consciousness and your level of awareness, you see. Because when you realize that this anger takes you out of your glory, it takes you out of the God consciousness, yes, it makes you debase yourself and bring yourself to your human tendencies. It makes you come down to your human senses, and that human senses is almost like an animal. I mean, we see the animals around us react this way too. When they are triggered by their fellow animals, you see them react and they go into fight or flight mode almost immediately. But now, if you are able to understand this and realize that the response that you give to anger is you going out of yourself or going out of your consciousness to debase yourself and take on parts of whoever triggered this anger in you, and also give off yourself to this person, then you realize that you have to respond differently to anger. And in as much as you have to be critical and you have to be assertive to whoever triggers this emotion in you, you have to be very careful not to respond with resentment. I mean, it's okay to hate the evil or to hate whatever this person does to you, but make sure not to hate the person. Yes, we can be constructive with our anger when we realize that we don't have to respond. Yes, we can be incited, we can be triggered, we can learn to be in our consciousness strong enough. And you can't learn to do this if you do not meditate, if you do not sit with yourself, if you do not stay with your consciousness longer than you do with the triggers and with the excitements and with the external stimulus that you get from life. See, so staying with your consciousness longer helps you to be able to recognize these triggers and these incitements as they come, so that you don't respond. You see, because when the enemy incites you or triggers you, he does this with the hopes of having you respond, so that when you respond, he takes on your life, and he takes a part of you and gives you a part of himself. You see, so you coming to this consciousness helps you to curb off these responses, you see, because when you are able to stay in your consciousness and stay in your fullness, then whatever insight that comes to trigger your anger or to trigger this emotion of resentment, it just comes, and it's almost like it's water on a nylon. Yeah, it just falls off of you, it doesn't stick to you, because when you let this emotion stick to you and you respond to it, then you carry on the baggages that shouldn't have been yours in the first place. So the emotion of anger is not as lightly as we make it. Yeah, it's not as lightly as we see it, because when you realize how much anger takes of you, when you realize how much energy it takes of you, when you realize how much it drains you, I mean, in just a matter of minutes, when you allow this anger creep or go inside you, in just a matter of minutes, if you realize how much it drains you and leaves you so drained, I mean, a lot of times, our parents get to really trigger us a lot, because I mean, who knows you better than your parents? or who knows you better than your friends and your peers. You see? So when we have become so accustomed to them and their triggers, I mean, they do this on autopilot, and you see that they do this and they get a burst of excitement from seeing you in um, that state of emptiness, from that state of debased, where you are in your human senses and where you are reacting and responding to them. So it's almost like they have a remote control on you, yeah, because they know exactly your triggers, and when they press those triggers, you respond almost like a puppet. You see? So anger, the emotion of anger, turns us to a puppet. So that is why you should be careful not to respond or to allow that anger get inside you. You see, it takes a level of consciousness to be able to see that trigger and hold it at surface level, you see, and just meet it at arm's length, you see, meet it exactly where it is, and don't let it get inside you. Because when it comes inside you, it really cripples you and it makes you less of who you are, you see, and it makes you take on the persona of whoever incited this emotion in you. So you have to come to the terms that anger can be constructive. Yeah, you can use anger constructively, but with your human mind and your human emotions, you cannot do this. You can only be able to use anger constructively when you get into your consciousness and when you get into the God in you. Yes, because that emotion of anger is a lot stronger than we give it credit for, because it entails we giving of ourselves to someone else. It entails we giving our power to someone else. It entails we bringing ourselves under someone else's feet, and they trample on us and take our power and live with our energy, while they leave us feeling drained, while they leave us in our lower states, you see. So a lot happens when someone triggers us and we respond to it. A lot happens that meets the eye, you see, because that is you giving of yourself, giving of your consciousness, giving of your glory to someone else. And you can imagine how easy it is for people to trigger us these days, because we are so caught up with trying to numb ourselves with our emotions. Yes, it is an accepted emotion. Anger is accepted. So everyone is always quick, to let out their emotion of anger, to let out that response. And, you see that a lot of times people incite you, like they do this on purpose so that they can get you mad, and then you get mad and you feel like, yes, you have let it all out. But no, what you did was you took on their own character, you took on their own persona, you took on the evil that is in them and brought it inside you, and they took on a little of your goodness, whatever goodness you had in you. So you see that this is like an exchange that happens. So if you can really come to terms with this and realize that you have to be with yourself and be in your silence and be with your consciousness longer than should be, because it is when you come to terms with this God within you that you can be able to decipher and you can be able to be in control of yourself. Like you can be able to really man your emotions, because yes, we are humans and we have these emotions, but these emotions shouldn't be controlling us, you see, because if these emotions keep controlling us, that means that we'll turn puppets in the hands of people that we meet in our waking life, you see. That means that we turn puppets to our bosses, turn puppets to our friends, I mean even our parents, even our immediate families, you see. So this is a call to heal, in that I am not trying to say that you totally annihilate the feeling of anger. No, anger is normal, yes, but in as much as it's normal, when you feel this emotion, you have the choice to respond to it, constructively, or you respond to it negatively, or you respond to it giving of yourself, you respond to it losing yourself in it, you see. So you have to really make a choice And I can assure you, like I always say, you can't make this choice if you're not living off from your center. So you have to learn to live off from your center. You have to learn to live off from the God in you, because it is this God that will help you to be able to decipher a trigger and someone trying to incite you and trying to make a mess of you. So I hope you really get one or two from what I just said now, because your emotions are yours for keeps, but they are not meant to man you. They are not meant to control you. I mean, you are not meant to be under the whims of your emotions. You are meant to really man and control your emotions. Anger is a very strong emotion, and there are ways in which you can really approach this anger. You know, you have to be assertive, but in order for you to be assertive, you have to be in your core. You have to see this anger for what it is and let it pass. And then you calmly and gently, approach and express yourself so that you can come to a resolution with whatever triggers this anger in you, whether internally or externally. So you have to be assertive, but I can assure you, you can't be assertive if you are responding from your human senses. So you have to be in your center. You have to be the observer and see this emotion for what it is. See that it's coming to push you out of state. It's trying to take you out of your center. But when you recognize it for what it is, and you have to recognize this with your mind's eye, see, because I'm not talking about your physical eyes, yeah. I mean your consciousness, yeah. So when you recognize it exactly for what it is, then you can be able to um, make an assertive decision or an assertive response to it, where you calmly and gently, address it so you can come to a resolution. Yeah. Now, also, a lot of times our response to anger is that of passive aggressive mode, yeah, where we are suppressing this anger, yeah. Maybe some of us do this through silent treatment, or we get cynical, or we try to be vulgar with our words. That is a negative way of responding also, because if you respond in this way, then there is no resolution, and it pays you no good, see, because that is you harboring resentment in you. And having that resentment in you means that you have allowed evil to come into you. But you don't have to allow evil to come into you by hating this person, because it is when you hate the person that causes this anger, or when you hate yourself for not living up to your expectations. This is when resentment comes into you, and then it turns out to be that you have allowed evil creep into you. So the passive aggressive way, or the passive aggressive response, it is not substantial for you. It is not even an option for you, because that is you killing yourself unbeknownst to you. You see? And now also there is another way of response, which is the aggressive way. Yeah, where we try to throw tantrums, where we try to shout or be violent, or a lot of times we are like the violence, take it by force. You see? A lot of us now have turned the Bible. Yeah, a lot of us now, we've turned the Bible to suit our whims and suit our human senses. You see, so when you allow anger to turn you to be aggressive, then that is a negative way also. That means that you have also allowed this resentment to creep into you, and allowing this resentment entails that you have allowed evil to come into you. You have debased yourself, you have lowered yourself, and you are no more in your center. So I just gave you 3 ways you can respond to anger. It's either you are assertive, and being assertive is you are in your core and your center, and you recognize this emotion for what it is. And once you recognize this emotion, then you can gently and calmly, in the best possible way, respond to it in order to find the resolution. I mean, you don't even raise your voice. This is when you are from your center. And again, I said the passive aggressive way, this is negative. This is you harboring resentment and acting like you're all good. But your response or your reaction is seen through your words, you see, because you get cynical and you tend to jab at this person with your words, or you give this person silent treatment. So this shows that you've also allowed resentment to creep into you, which is not good. And then I also mentioned the aggressive way, where you throw tantrums and get violent and raise your voice and shout and all of that. So anger is a normal emotion, yes, because like I said, it is normal because we humans, all of us, we feel it. And mind you, even the animals, they feel this emotion also. Yeah, because it is a flight or fight mode. It is when you try to respond to an external or internal trigger. I mean, sometimes this anger can come internally also when we don't live up to our expectations, or when we feel like we're lagging behind or we're not doing better in ourselves. And sometimes it also comes from physical vulnerabilities, like maybe when you're hungry or when you're fatigued, yeah, when you're tired and exhausted, or from when when you have unmet needs, yeah. So in any way this anger comes or you feel this emotion, like I said, you have to be able to recognize it for what it is, because what makes us a lot of times not respond in the best possible way to this emotion is that we don't recognize it for what it is. Yeah, a lot of times we are numb to it and we are like, this is a normal emotion. A lot of us don't even know that we respond this way. Like we see it as a normal way of living. That is why I say that a lot of us, we live like puppets. We live on autopilot. We respond. I mean, people trigger us and we respond. People trigger us and we respond. And then people know how to trigger you, and they do this on autopilot, and you respond on autopilot. But when you are able to really sit with yourself and look into your being, and look into your responses, and look into your vices, and look into your responses and your way of living, then you'll be able to see how you've been responding to this particular emotion and how you have become more like a puppet. So when you're able to see this, then you can be able to curb yourself, you can be able to be in control of yourself, you can be able to really man yourself and know that this emotion is not meant to control you. I mean, people are not meant to remote control you like this, you see. You are meant to be in control of yourself. And that is when you're living from your God center. That is when you are in your fullness. And when you're in your fullness, then no one can control you this way. Then you can be assertive, you can really express yourself, and you don't have to do this out of um, out of the emotion, out of anguish, out of feeling hurt, because now you really understand the emotion for what it is, and then you respond accordingly. But it doesn't mean that you don't express yourself. You express yourself, but you have to first pause. You have to first take a deep breath. Yeah, I mean, the easiest response to any trigger or any incitement or any remote control from people, I mean, be it friends, be it family, the fastest and quickest response you can get is pausing and holding your tongue, like breathing in your mouth, like pausing almost immediately, holding your breath and going into your center almost immediately, that you feel that anger, you feel that emotion. And once you go into your breath, then from there you can really listen and pay attention and know the right words to respond. And that is you living from your consciousness and not living like the human animal, and not living from your senses like every other animal, you see. So I hope you get this, and I hope that with much I've said, you've been able to realize that anger is normal in itself, but then you have to be able to control yourself. You have to be able to control your emotions. I mean, it shouldn't be the other way around. Your emotions are meant to be controlled by you. So you have to learn to be in your center, because the more you are in your center, the more you are able to see these emotions for what they are. And if you see them for what they are, then you can pause them and focus on your breath, and then you can be able to respond assertively instead of responding, passive aggressively or aggressively. Yeah. So I hope you stay tuned, and God bless you, my people.